Hi guys, happy Sunday. It's Clarice and we are here for another session of Sunday painting. I'm just going to give it a few seconds until people start trickling in. I'm just going to make sure I can see comments and stuff on my laptop. Shutting down WhatsApp so that I don't get dinged by people or interrupted. And I'm just going to give a few more seconds for people to kind of come in, making sure my chat is open and I can see everyone. Oh, whoa, 15 people already. Hey guys, happy Sunday. I'm just going to ramble a bit before we begin. As everyone knows, we are doing Pampas grass today, and this is based off this week's video, or this past week's video. And we will be embellishing and adding a couple of more loose florals and making it fun, maybe even adding a couple of pumpkins. I was thinking of doing something like this, but I have decided to do something else. So stay tuned for that. Before we begin, I just want to quickly tell you guys about the cloth masks. So if you guys remember, these are paintings that we did for Sunday Lives past, probably like March, April even. So anyways, I put them on mask and they're amazing, like soft face masks. So if you guys want some or would like to order some, you can get some online or just DM me directly. They're going for $15 plus $2 shipping. So let me know, guys. All right, I'm gonna put this aside now and tell you about the materials we're going to be using today. So today we're going to be using the Canson watercolor paper. I'm using a whole sheet of 9 by 12. And I'm just going to make sure I have everything adjusted so you can see. There we go. Okay, have my water ready, which I'm going to sort of put off to the side. And paper towel ready as well. For brushes, we're going to be using the number 8 Princeton, number 4 Silver Black Velvet. I know I've been using this one a lot, especially for the Pampas grass. You want something that's thin and pointed so you can get the details in the grass. I will keep my mop brush handy as well, just in case I need it. I'm just trying to make sure that the video is adjusting properly. Okay, perfect. And then I'm also going to be using one of my basic round brushes, and I'll tell you why in a second. I will be needing you'll be needing something round to draw a circle, and we're gonna do it vertical this time. All right, and you just need a pencil as well to draw the circle. And we will also be using some masking fluid, and I'm going to tell you why in a second, because we're going to be creating something, well, not quite a wreath, but kind of those, I'm sure you've seen them, there's quite a few of them out there, and I'm going to try and see if I can find an example, but pretty much like we're gonna add the masking fluid on the inside and then kind of paint on the outside, and if anything gets on the inside, it gets cut off, because once we take the masking tape off, it's gonna have that nice clean circular effect, and just the Pampas grass and florals all around. So I hope you're excited, because I am. I've never tried something like this before, and so this is my first time trying it with you guys. Hi Zanette. Welcome, nice to see you. I hope you just caught what I was talking about really quickly. For those who don't have masking fluid, that's okay, don't worry. Just try to avoid painting on the inside, and then you can always try this video again just with masking fluid if you think it's a cool effect and want to give it a shot. All right, so let's begin. I think I told you everything. For colors, I'm gonna let you know as we kind of go along, but if you've watched the Pampas grass video, you know the browns that I'm going to be using, and I will tell you as we go along again about the pinks and whatever else that we will be using as well. All right. Hi Ritu. Hi Artie. Welcome. All right, so we're gonna start off. So I'm using this to draw my circle. I'm just gonna pick the center of this and draw my basic circle all around. Actually, you know what? This is a terrible thing to use because it's not completely circular, but I don't see anything else that's like a perfect circle right now. So we're just gonna have to go with this. And I'm gonna have a rough edge as I paint or put the masking fluid in. All right, so this is what I have. So putting that aside, I'm gonna get my masking fluid, and as soon as I can open this, oh, there's quite a bit of it that just gets dried on the inside. Interesting. I guess the longer you keep it, the more it dries up, perhaps. All right, so I'm going to take my number 8 basic brush. I got a bit of that on my hands, but I know it's going to rub off. And getting some fluid, and I'm just going to start placing it around the circle. And yeah. So how's everyone's weekend going as I am painting this and getting ready for our session? I figured we can just chit chat a bit. Anyone doing anything fun? Everyone in the States, I know your Thanksgiving is coming up, so you're probably still prepping or doing a lot of trying of recipes, maybe, unless you have your tried and true recipes that you kind of always traditionally make at Thanksgiving. For us Canadians, I know we are done with Thanksgiving and we're prepping for Halloween. It's kind of different. And then everywhere else in the world, what are you guys up to? I know it's like this year has just flown by so quickly, everyone being at home and the COVID situation that we're all kind of dealing with. And I guess now we've reached the end of the year where all that's left to look forward to is Christmas for those of us who celebrate, and just any other holidays that come at the end of the year, right? The holiday season. All right, so I'm going to leave that at that and just give it a few seconds to dry and shut this off. And I think while this is drying, I can review the colors that I am using. So give me a second to just wash off this brush before it dries off. Oh yes, Ritu, yes, that's right. Diwali's coming up in India. I know it's celebrated over here as well, but I think everything's going to be online because we're kind of going down into another sort of shutdown mode. Yeah, I hear you on the whole waiting for a safer and brighter new year. I think we could all use with go for a nicer, better new year, I guess. All right, okay. So colors that we are using for the Pampas grass. Now, this is what I had done if you watched the video, and I was just practicing some other looser styles. Over here it uses more of a grayish green color as opposed to the browns, but I'll just review the browns that we've used. So I used 3 browns in the video for this week. Let's see, there is the darkest brown, I believe, is like a sepia. Then we have a Mars brown, which is like a medium. And then I believe raw sienna is the lightest, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry, it's kind of hard to tell by just looking at these which is which unless I actually put it down. So I would just go for 3 browns, light, medium, dark. And then I also have my umber, which is going to be like a greenish brown that we're using just to kind of draw in the leaves and the strands that are in there. And let me just see about this lighting. How's the lighting for you guys? Do you guys find it dull? Because I know it's pretty dull out here today. So just give me a quick comment in the chat section. Let me know about the lighting, guys. Hi, Lydia. Thank you. Hope you're joining in today. Thanks, Ritu. Okay, thanks, Ginger. Okay, still looks good, right? I was just wondering if we need a little bit of extra lighting or what. For that, I'd have to like move things around. Anyways, okay, so if it's good, let's just go with it. All right, so first things first. So I am going to be doing something, because we have the flow that can almost kind of wrap around in a circular fashion. We're gonna kind of work with an idea like that. But what we're gonna start off by doing is doing some florals around here. And we'll start off with some main blooms. Let's try and go for like 3, and then we'll have everything kind of wrapping around, and maybe a couple over here. We'll see about timing and how we go with that, and then decide from there. So for this floral, I want to do something that's nice and light and pink. You can also feel free to use something that's a little more gray, sorry, not gray, orange or blue or purple, if that is your preference. I'm just going to use the color I like, or you can follow along with this. It's entirely up to you. So I'm going to be using this red, very, very watered down. And I believe this is the Carmen. This is the Carmen red, I believe. Yes. So I'm just going to mix some of that onto my palette, which is right here. Move these over. Yeah, I do see the blur in between. I'm not quite sure why that is happening so frequently. I wonder if it's because of the lighting, guys. But I guess let me know in the comments if it keeps on happening. Because we're live, I don't have much control over this. At least I don't think so. Hi, Mirren. Welcome from Brazil. Very nice. Okay, so my palette's right here. I'm going to try and make sure my hands don't go up and down to avoid this blur that we're experiencing. So I'm going to use the number 8 Princeton to kind of get some color and mix it onto my palette. So right here. And I want a very light version of this color. You can barely see it, right? Or maybe you can see a tad hint of it. I'm not quite sure. I want a bit of it just so I can do more than one and I don't have to dip back in. But I might end up doing that. We'll see. All right, so I have some of that color on there, and oops, don't do this. Wipe it off quickly. All right, so we're gonna start off with doing a bloom. Let's do a rose. All right, so I'm gonna start off by doing the rose here. And I do notice this, I'm looking at my desktop right now and I'm seeing the zoom in and out. That's kind of annoying, but why is it doing that? Okay, it stopped, I think. So sorry guys, I'm gonna have to continue because it looks like it's not bothering anyone, I hope, like eyesight wise, but I don't know what else to do unless I actually stop the thing and restart. Okay, let's just kind of go with it, or maybe let me adjust. Whoops, let me adjust my screen to see if by bringing it lower it does anything. That's better. It's not doing anything now. So I think maybe I just needed to get it lower. Oh, and that's nice and bright. Okay, let's begin. All right, so I'm going to start my bloom. And it's going to be a rose, and we're going to do the first one on this corner right here. And for that, I'm going to start very light, and then we'll start off, we'll add some darker detail on the inside. So getting some of my color and making sure that I leave a lot of white space on the inside of the rose, I'm going to go ahead and start creating the center first. And I'm doing
I'm pressing down my brush to get some nice lay of color. And we're doing the C strokes. And because I want this to be light and lots of, I guess, white space in between, I'm kind of doing these strokes all around and making sure I have enough water on my brush. And then as I go on the outskirts and create more, I'm just adding more water to the tip of my brush, and that'll give me a lighter version of this pink. All right, and then I'm just doing a couple of strokes at the edges. And there we go, we are good. I don't want to do any more. Now I can just take my number 4 or any other brush and just get a darker version of the pink that we've used. And we're just gonna highlight it on the inside. By highlight, I mean just using the tip, getting the color directly from your palette. We're just gonna add a couple of strokes on the inside to kind of give it a darker hue. And this step is important because while you're doing this, you're able to take advantage of the fact that we've just laid on damp color and you're allowing the water to kind of blend in. And we're just gonna kind of slowly go around doing the same kind of strokes in an arc format, or C strokes or comma strokes, whatever you want to call them. And very lightly, because we want this to be a nice whimsical piece of art that when you look at it you think that it's a dream, or close to one at least. All right, so we've done that and I like how that's turned out. I think it's very pretty. At this stage, if you're feeling ambitious, if you are, I would say take your number 4, dip it into some yellow, like a medium cadmium yellow or something, and just kind of add a couple of strokes on the inside or on the outside, just to kind of show like a reflection of another color within your rose. That is if you're feeling ambitious. If not, that's okay, just stick with what you have and leave it as is. I'm going to go back in, get some of the darker red using this, and I'm going to add a couple of more tinier strokes just on the inside. And this is just to kind of give the inside a little more of a pop. And then I'm going to let it go. There we go. And I'm just going to leave it at that. Hey Jill, welcome. Glad you made it. I saw you liking all the stuff on Instagram, and I was wondering if you were gonna come or not. All right, so we're done the rose. The next thing we'll do is we'll do something like a dahlia, and I'm gonna make it very loose again, just like the rose, lots of white space. So let's get our big blooms done and out of the way, and then we can kind of head on to the pampas grass and continue with that. So for this dahlia type of, I guess, floral, we can do something, you can go with something that's mauve or purpley, or you can go with something that's orange. However, because our pampas grass is so brown in color, I think it might be too much warmth on there. So I'm going to offset it by using some blue. So you can use the azure blue or the, let me look at my, yeah, I think it's indigo or azure. Any one of those you can use to kind of get what we're doing next. I will use what I know as azure, and I'm mixing some of that over here. It's kind of like a turquoisey blue, and it's the blue that we used for creating our light blue pumpkins. And you can kind of mix that in with some of like a brighter blue for the center if you wish, just to get a more darker hue. But I want to keep this dominantly like fall colors, so let's just stick with, I'm going to stick with this to keep this less complicated. All right, so using my number 8 still, I'm gonna go ahead, get some color. Notice that it's very muted because I've put a lot of water in it as well, just like with the pink. And I'm gonna start painting petals. And let me just describe that to you right now. Think about how to describe that to you. We're gonna create linear lines, and it's just going to look like this. Because we want the floral to kind of face that way. So I'm leaving white space, and I'm creating linear lines, like 2 lines to create a petal. And then I'm gonna dip the tip of my brush in water, and I'm continuing to create more petals. Notice the white space in between. It's a very, very loose style of Dahlia, or I guess chrysanthemum, or any of those kind of florals that you see out there. And I want it to be from dark to light on the outside, so that's why I'm kind of keeping on dipping my brush into the water, just to kind of get more of a lighter hue. And then at the tips or at the ends, you want to just like fade off by just adding like a drop here and there. Sorry, not a drop, but like a dot here and there, just to kind of give it that background look almost. And now, taking advantage of the fact that this is still semi-damp on the inside, we want to kind of just go ahead and add a little more detail by just adding a couple of strokes. Maybe only on one side of the petal as opposed to all the sides. And then this way it kind of gives it a little bit more of a more dimension. And there we go. So we have our very loose Dahlia looking floral. And what I'm going to do right now is just to see if I'm experimenting here. So if this turns out to be a flop, please don't be discouraged. Try using another color. I'm using this lighter blue, and I believe this is either the cobalt blue or I think it's a cobalt blue. And I'm just going to try and add a couple of dots on the center or in the center. Here and there, just like around the areas that's still damp. And I'm just kind of moving the color around to see if I can get some interesting results. And my hope is that, again, it'll give me a little bit more of a dimensional look with this cute loose floral that we have. So let's see how that turns out once it's dried. All right, so we have that floral done. The next thing we can do, because I like to do my florals in 3s, let's just do one. Let's do one on this end over here, and we'll just do something that's super simple and easy to do. Let's start this one off with a center. So for the center, I'm going to use a dark, either like a, yeah, use a black. I'm going to use a black. This is my black. And I'm just going to add a couple of dots to show the center over here. Actually, no, let's do it at the top because I can do leaves here and that'll be nice. So I'm going to do a couple of dots here. And this flower is going to be more reflective, or to mimic the, okay, I don't know the name. It's in my mind. It starts with an A. It's got a dark center, and I believe you can get them, they're dominantly white, but you get them in other colors too, like pink and stuff. Anyways, I'm just adding dots all around in the center, very loosely. Yes, anemone, is that how you say it? That's it. Thanks, Janine. Or Jeannie, sorry, misread. All right, so for this, I will use, you know what? I'm gonna draw from the gray, like from the black that I've used. So taking my number 8, and I'm just going to very delicately touch just the tip of the black that I've put in and draw out and create some petals. And I'm leaving white space. So keep in mind the white space. Now I know these petals are a lot thicker or wider rather, so make sure you're accommodating the wideness of that in your painting as you're going along, and keeping with the whole idea of white space as we go along. Because again, the style is very loose, but you know, if you want to give it a little more detail, these are the tips I'm giving you in case you want to make sure that it looks a little more like the actual floral, or it could just look like any other floral really, because we're painting for fun, guys. All right, so I like how that turned out, and now we can move on to the actual leaves. So for the leaves, I'm going to use my favorite, which is the green from St. Petersburg. And this time I think I'll mix it with some of the umber just so that it kind of flows in with the rest of the look and feel that we're doing. And so let me just make sure that I have my green. Here it is. It's just called green. I know. And I'll mix some of the umber, which is like the brownish green, with it, just because I want it to be a little more of a fall look as opposed to a summery look. This is still too green, so I think at this point I will add some of the light brown that I have on the side. And it's giving me, yeah, like an olivey green, which is not bad. I wonder if I should have used the yellow ochre. It's okay, let's just go with this. And so I've got enough color on here, and I don't want them to be too dark, so I'm just gonna water this down as best as I can. There we go. And we'll just create some simple leaves here. All right, so we'll do some over here off to the side, some poking out this way. We have to remember that we're gonna have the pampas grass, so we'll have to make sure we're accommodating for that as well. All right, so we'll do a couple over here just to make sure that we are taking advantage of the fact that this area is still a little bit damp. And again, very loose. So just a couple of strokes, guys, and you are done. You don't want this to be your main focus, or focal point for that matter. And you can do what I normally say, adding the dominant darker color to the bottom of the leaf. And we'll just add some coming out this way too. And just like very loosely, lightly around. Can add some here as well, just in the corner, even though it's not going to show quite clearly. So maybe it's pointless to add anything there, but tried it anyways. And I think maybe just very lightly around at the top of this floral here. Let's see if we can do something. And then I'm just going to extend some over here too, but I'm not adding any more color. I'm just going to draw from the color that we have on this leaf here. But this side of the paper seems to be a little bit weird, so it's not quite grabbing the color as I anticipated it to. So I'm just dabbing that away. That's okay. So I'm going to leave this at this for now, and we'll tackle the pampas grass. So for that, I'm gonna have some sticking out here. I think that'll be pretty, and then some going around. I think that's gonna work out really nicely. So pampas grass, here we go. So hope everyone has practiced and is ready. So the first thing I did previously was using the lightest brown, which is I think either the raw sienna or Mars brown, one of the two. And I'm going to go ahead and create the stem first. So since I said we'll do some at the top here we go. So here's the lightest one. You can feel free to keep it very loose and open that way. And then kind of wetting my brush to dilute the color that's on it. Just gonna make sure I have all the green out and everything. I'm gonna get some of the same color, which is the light brown, and I want to use some water and just kind of blend it out into like this shape that kind of looks like a leaf and kind of tapers at the end, and pushing the color up and down. There we go, that's good. Then I'm going to go in, get my medium brown, and I am just going to very lightly add a couple of dabs, kind of almost in a direction of like creating leaves or stems, like in a fishbone pattern, if that makes any sense. And I want to add a couple of dots on the outskirts of it as well. And this just pretty much creates that whole effect of several colors within your pampas grass. And then I'm just adding a couple of linear lines with the wet effect that's happened down. So kind of like the feather, if you've done the feather tutorial with me, this is what we're doing here. So now I've washed off all the color from my number 4, and I'm gonna go ahead and using just like no color, just water on my brush, I'm gonna kind of pull out and create more like flowy strands from the pampas grass. And you can give it like direction. Don't give it direction all over the place, otherwise it's gonna look really messy and like a really ruined pampas grass. But yeah, I would say kind of like a feather. So just kind of from inside out, and then tapering off to the end. And it's very, very light right now. And while it's still damp, this allows for a nice shadowy effect. So it's nice. So now I'm going to go in with my darkest shade of brown, which is right here. And I'm getting some of the color. Whoops. And then I'm going to go back in and add, and I'm doing the same thing that I did previously. I'm just adding a couple of strokes inside. And you can kind of add them going in and out. So this way you have a couple of strands that look darker, some lighter, because that's pretty much how pampas grass looks. And then just a couple of dots to kind of show the looseness of it or indicate that. And there we go. And I want to make the stem darker. So I'm just going to go ahead using the same brown and add a couple of strokes in there to make it darker. And just at the edges of the stem, I'm just adding a tad bit more darker detail, just sporadically here and there. And I'm going to leave it at that. I like how that looks. So we can repeat these a couple of times. So we did one here. So this is where the umber green comes in. I'm just going to use the umber green to create a couple of strokes as leaves, or the grass strands, I guess you could say. So I'm just adding them very loosely, but I don't want it to be taller than the actual pampas grass itself. So I'm going to try and control how tall it turns out, and I don't want it to be darker than that either, because I want that to be the main focus. So I'm just dipping the tip of this brush in water and not getting any more green, but I'm kind of adding some flourishy effects by adding a couple of strokes that way. Yeah, there we go. And I think that's okay for now. So we can continue creating some more of the Pampas grass. So we have one there. Let's do some here, and then, because I feel I wanted to do two here, but I feel like it'd be too much. So let's just continue doing them over here on this end. So now that I've deciphered and decided that I want the darker color for the stem, I'm just gonna go ahead and do the darker one here. So creating, and again, it doesn't have to be completely dark all throughout. Like if you want it to be like a choppy looking stem, because this is a very loose style of painting, it would actually work and look quite nice. So now I'm getting the softest brown or the lightest brown that we have, and I am creating that leaf shape that I mentioned earlier, very muted, very watered down, adding a couple of dots here and there. And then once I've done that, I'm going to go in and get my medium brown, which is right here. I'm getting the color directly from it because this area is very damp. I'm kind of going to go in here, taking advantage of the fact that it's still pretty damp, and it'll kind of push the water around quite nicely. So just kind of dotting it all over. Now notice in this step, I didn't do what I did up here, which was do the strokes earlier on, but I'll do that now. So really, like, I've given you the basics of how you can do this grass. It really, like, go with the flow and figure out what method you like. And if you forget to do one exactly the same way, there is no right or wrong, is what I'm trying to say, I guess. As long as you get the same effect in the end, you're kind of good to go. So you can try several different ways. You know what you're kind of trying to achieve and how you're trying to have it look. So just kind of go with the flow. So now that I've created that, I think I'll extend it even more and give it more direction, like hugging the circle. And then I'm going to go back in for the darker brown and adding some detail. So the detail is exactly the same as I said previously. We're taking advantage of the fact that this area is still pretty damp, adding a couple of loose dots, adding a couple of strokes in the center so it kind of gives you some texture and nice color blending happening as well. And we want it to be light and flow in nicely. So the amount of water that you have on your brush also kind of affects how this looks in the end too. So if you're not getting these results, maybe check how much water you have going on. And then you can always have your paper towel and just kind of dab off any excess bunches of water. All right, so we have that there. Let's continue and do another one. And for this one, let's have it, because now we can have it dry and then go in with a little more fine detailing if you wish. Yes, so we're doing the brown again, the darkest brown for the stems. So I think for this one I'll do, let's do one coming out this way and longer. So, okay, that's a terrible arc of mine here, but hopefully you guys have done better. I'll try and fix it some way or the other. So getting a muted version of the same brown, we're going to go ahead and create that leafy kind of rough look with the rough edges, and then we will create the feathers. Sorry, not the feathers, but the actual grass. This kind of really reminds me of the feathers we did. It's on my mind. All right, so doing that, and then using the same brush, let's just do the feather. Sorry, again, I said feather, but yeah, it's like a feathering effect. And let's give it direction. And you can just like get carried away in this action because it's kind of so cool to watch how these cute little strokes can kind of change how everything looks. Watercolor is so amazing that way. It's just mesmerizing sometimes if you're doing it right. Sometimes actually even if you're doing it wrong. So I always say there's no right or wrong way, just because watercolor can really surprise you. So then we're taking the medium color and we're just going to go ahead and add a couple of strokes on the inside, and I'm just kind of dotting it around because I know the lower portion isn't quite as damp as it was earlier on, and the upper portion is. So again, adding a couple more strokes, sorry, dots, and just like a couple of dabs really using this brush in certain areas, because you want that nice blend of color and indication of areas where maybe there's darker strands of the grass. And yeah, there we go. So now that we have that, we can either choose to extend and create more of the directional strands here, because we've got like a darker color just in a couple of areas, if you wish. And then go back in and get some of the darker brown. And I believe that was right here. And then we're just gonna add a stem, like a broken stem almost, because we just want to highlight certain areas, and then adding a couple of areas exactly. So literally it's a repetition of what we've been doing to create the whole thing. We're just doing it in different colors or shades of brown. And so I will leave that to you, like how you want to add that and where. And then I'm just going to darken, add some more detail to these. There we go. Okay, I think I will just leave it at this. And because the shape of this is kind of bothering me, I'm gonna go ahead and get some of the umber green that we have and do some light. Oh, actually that wasn't the umber green, that was the mixed green that we did previously. So I'm gonna get some of the umber green here and get a couple of strokes going on in there just like this to give it more direction. So yes, I think someone had commented and said, am I the only one that holds my breath when doing these? Nope, me too. So I'm trying to get strokes in, but you can see my paper is a little bit weird here. It's not quite giving me that nice watercolor effect. Hopefully you guys are having better luck. Just adding some there, some here. And I want it to be light because if it doesn't turn out that great, then I don't want it to be like this dark thing just coming out of nowhere. So I'm going to give it several strands. Don't want to try and interfere with the actual strands of thing happening. and give it some direction. Yeah, shouldn't have done that one. That looks a little weird, but that's okay. I'll just do one more here. Just giving that outward that way. Okay. All right, left it at that. And I think this looks pretty good so far. I think we can actually just end off here, or you could actually kind of continue and do more. No, but I think I like the 3 different versions that are happening of the Pampas grass, which is 1, 2, 3. It's very light right now, so if you want to actually darken it and make it like this, what I had done in the previous tutorial was waited for it to dry and then kind of went in and added a little more dabbing detail. So you can absolutely do that if you wish to make it darker, but I kind of like how the flowers pop and these are kind of on the outskirts of it, giving this whole area some framing happening. Actually, as an additional thing, just because we have this nice masking fluid stuff happening on the inside, I don't mind doing a couple of florals or even leaves that kind of extend either on this side or just coming down from the Dahlia type floral. So why don't we do that? What do you guys think? Oh, okay, I'm just reading comments right now. Thanks, Yasmin. Yes, that's the effect I was trying to go for, like fall, but you know, somehow these colors always make it in my palette, and then it doesn't look as fall-like anymore. It's more like a spring mixed with fall. Thanks, Cabby. Third Eye. Hey, thank you. Oh, Jill, I hope you can catch it later on. I know you said your electricity just went off, but hope you haven't missed too much. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and create some more of these kind of leaves on this side here. And then maybe that'll be everything, all we need. We don't really need anything else. So it's just like the Pampas grass style. And I'm getting some of that. I'm adding a little bit of the brown into the umber, which we had done previously. And a couple of strokes. And then just kind of perhaps leave it that way. And I'll just do, because I really wanted to do, just to kind of offset it, let's just do a couple of really loose florals on this side here. And I'm just doing the rows that we did up there, but just in a tinier, more muted version. So same like we did previously there, it's just C strokes with a lot of white space in between and keeping it soft. And then we'll take some of the blue as well, and then I'll just add just like a very small hint of a dab on the side, so it kind of looks like there's more florals there, but you don't quite see what's happening. And what I did was I added the one dab of color, and then using some water or just the same brush, I'm kind of extending the color all over, keeping a lot of white space as well. So you kind of see that it's a floral, but it's very, very, very faint. And it's blending in with the rose. So I wanted that. And then, yeah, I think we can end off with that and just add a couple of leaves in the same exact manner right there, just like hints of green. So just getting some of that green that I had and the umber, and I want to make sure that it's very, very muted. So I'm mixing that on here, and let's see if I can get something light and soft. There we go. Taking off some of my color. Just a couple of strands to kind of indicate that, and then yeah, I think this is good. So this is great. I think I'm going to leave it at this. I think it looks nice enough with just like not overpowering happening. So let's just try and take this off here. I know someone had said use an eraser, so maybe let me try and use an eraser without touching this area. So just gonna erase this off and let's see how it looks. This is actually kind of fun. Oh, it's actually kind of taking some of the paper off too. So maybe be careful. There we go. Just peel it off. Oh, I love this. I think growing up, if I had extra glue, I would put it on my hand and then peel it off. I think everyone did that too, because I've seen memes about it all over the place, so I guess I wasn't the only one. Okay, just rubbing some of this off now, so I don't want to ruin the paper because I can see some of it peeling. And just going to erase this line as well, and these lines. I know this area is still a little bit damp, but I think I can erase. All right, okay, and so this is what we have. I kind of really like it. I hope you guys like it too. What do you guys think in the comments? Were you able to do this? Did you have any questions? Were there any issues? Let me know. And if you can't send it to me in the comments here, please feel free to send me a direct message on Instagram or Facebook. I'm ever willing to respond and help you guys out, so just let me know. I really like how this turned out. I think it's kind of like a mix between fall and spring, but it's aiming for more fall, but that's okay. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. Wishes, thank you so much for constantly telling people to like the button. Yes, like the button. Like the video. Yes, please do like it if you have enjoyed this video. And I do suggest subscribing if you like videos like this. I do a lot of florals and whatnot. So, yes. And lastly, I would love to see what you guys have come up with. So please send me your images or tag me on your social media channels so I can see that you've done it and it's been helpful or not helpful. Yeah, let me know, guys. So thanks so much for watching, and I guess have a really, really good Sunday. It's kind of dull over here, so I hope it's like a lot brighter where you are. And yeah, guys, I'm just going to read the comments really quickly before I shut off. Thanks, Lynn. Thanks, Artie. Thanks, Steffi. Yasmin, yes, I probably will write something in the circle. The whole point of doing this with you guys is so that you can take this and kind of create something for yourselves. Like it could be a greeting card, it could be something like a wall hanging, anything really. I know Thanksgiving is coming up for the US, but also Christmas and stuff like that. So these things like this make great gifts for friends and family. So feel free to kind of enhance this. Who else? Did anyone else have a question? Thanks, Katie. I don't speak French, even though my name sounds very French, but you have magnifique in there, so I'm just going to say thank you. And 71, Miss Lorraine. Thanks, Lorraine.
Wishes you're actually so cute. Thank you, love heart for you. Jill, so glad you liked it. You know where to find this video. Just come online if you guys have missed out on it and you're kind of just tuning in. It'll be posted, I guess, in a couple of hours. Thanks, Yasmin. Thanks, Nancy. I'm glad you like it. I was hoping for more muted tones, but for some reason, I'm just a colorful person. Bright colors kind of always just happen to come onto my palette for some reason. Thanks, Pamela. Thanks, Lise. Jeannie. Okay, wow. Thanks, guys. I'm so glad that you guys like this. Thanks, Judy, Gladys. Ginger Kelly. I definitely have to try this. Oh, yes, Ginger. That's a fabulous idea. She's turning 95. This would really be nice and special. Just like a card or a wall hanging. And if you frame it in like a nice white, one of those minimalistic white frames with like a nice thick white border around it, that would be really nice. And you can letter anything you want inside, or perhaps even if you have vinyl stickers of words, you can even do that, right? So that would also kind of work. All right, guys. Okay, well, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your continued support, liking, subscribing, following me on Instagram, Facebook, all those good things. I really appreciate everything, and it fills my heart and inspires me to know that these videos actually teach you guys something or bring you some sort of joy. So thanks again for watching, guys, and have a blessed Sunday. Bye.